All right, so by way of introduction, Lauren, come on up. And do you need the podium or do you need a...
I would love to use the podium.
Okay, and we can unplug anything if you're...
Okay. I think they're going to run some clips from over here.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thanks very much. Hi, good afternoon, everyone. So my name is Lauren Pabst. I work at the John D. and Catherine T. MacArthur Foundation as a program officer in the Journalism and Media program. And I'm happy and I'm excited and I'm honored to be here with you all. You know, Vince and the Media Impact Funders team originally wanted my colleague Emma Belcher, who directs the Nuclear Challenge Project at MacArthur, to come and speak about the very significant ways in which they've been supporting media over the last couple years. But Emma wasn't available, so you've got me. And I said, Vince, you've got to let me talk about how MacArthur's Journalism and Media program has just relaunched a new framework for supporting the field, which I'm going to do. I'm going to begin by doing that, and then I'm going to move into talking more about, as promised, the threat of nuclear, destruction, which MacArthur has worked for quite some time on and has a very interesting intersection with the media work and a great story to tell. Thank you. I think the title of this session is new to the game. And in many ways, our Nuclear Challenge Project colleagues are newer to the game of supporting media and journalism. But MacArthur's Journalism and Media program, as it is known now, has been in this space for quite some time. It's one of the longest areas of support at the MacArthur Foundation. For most of our 3 decades, we've supported independent media. But over the last few years, as the foundation got new leadership, we had an opportunity to look again at the ways in which we support this very important work, and had an opportunity to restructure the way that we provide grants to the field that takes into account everything that has changed and continues to change in this space. And so our new program has 3 parts. It's been designated as an enduring commitment of the MacArthur Foundation, which means that we are in this field to support a stronger US democracy, and the job of providing independently sourced and verified and produced journalism and media is never going to be over. There's going to be a long time need for that in our society. And so the program has 3 parts. The first is a focus on support for professional nonprofit reporting. The second, nonfiction multimedia storytelling. And the third, participatory civic media, which we're defining as the way that individuals and groups use media for social change. And there's also a good deal of focus on the intersections of those 3 areas, because there's a great deal of overlap. And the main value of this funding is editorial independence and the kind of unrestricted support that allows newsrooms and filmmakers and media makers, journalists, technologists, social change makers to do the best work that they can with the conditions for editorial freedom and independence. And an example of that is last month when we officially launched this new framework of journalism and media funding, we also announced 12 5-year general operating support grants to nonprofit newsrooms working across the US, totaling almost $25 million. And so right now what I want to do is show you a very short video that we produced that outlines the values that have gone into these 3 programs, these 3 areas of work that are part of this journalism and media program, which gives you just a good, kind of illustrates what we're talking about when we say the new relaunch of MacArthur's work in this field. So please play the first clip. And there should be some sound too. Sorry, can you pause and thank you. Sorry about that, everyone.
as the Pentagon embarks on a wide-ranging and hugely expensive plan.
Behind every number, there's a story. And today's numbers tell a dramatic one.
There are more than 17,000 sexual assaults at work a year.
Behind the invoices, emails, and paper trails are real victims.
I think within each one of us, there's a yearning to tell a story.
You know, these kids are only 8, 9 years old. I don't think they fully understand that if they're not a U.S. citizen, they might get kicked out of the country.
These juveniles many times are being punished much harsher than adults.
This thing that I'm holding in my hand, this telephone, this camera, it is quite powerful.
In order for us to speak up, we must replace comfortable silence with verbal discomfort, and we must take action.
Thank you. Thank you. So the MacArthur Foundation is a big place, and the Journalism and Media program has been designated as an enduring commitment, along with programs like our commitment to our hometown of Chicago and to exceptional creativity through the MacArthur Fellows program. There's another type of funding stream at MacArthur as well that's been designated as a big bet, which is to say MacArthur is positioned to provide a great deal of resources to address one or more urgent social problems. The first set of big bets that have been declared by the MacArthur Foundation are a focus on ending mass incarceration through criminal justice reform, climate change mitigation through the Climate Solutions Project, and ending nuclear proliferation through the Nuclear Challenge Project. And the goal of that particular project is working to reduce nuclear threats by decreasing the availability and use of weapons-usable materials. And as part of that, the Journalism and Media program provides support to these colleagues that work on these deep, very profound, very intractable issues for when those big bet programs want to use journalism and media in their work. We provide kind of an advisory role within MacArthur. So the motivation for supporting media comes from their strategy, but we help them to ask some of the questions that might get them to a place where they feel confident that they're choosing a project over another one for the goals of their big bet strategy. And as part of the Nuclear Challenge Project, one of the goals was to raise public awareness, is to raise public awareness of the continuing existential threat that the presence of nuclear weapons pose to humanity as a whole. And our director of the Nuclear Challenge Project, Emma Belcher, has been thinking very creatively about how to inform a new generation that did not come of age during the Cold War of the existence of these weapons and the many multifaceted threats that they really do face. And so through the longer term support, so MacArthur has supported the field of nuclear security for quite some time before it was designated a big bet. And through that, Emma's team has supported the work of the Center for Public Integrity to do investigative journalism on nuclear security issues around the world. In 2013, MacArthur's journalism and media program in our previous iteration was holding an open call for documentary film proposals. And one of those that came in was a documentary proposed by Robert Kenner and Eric Schlosser that would be an adaptation of Eric Schlosser's book, Command and Control, which which really exposes how vulnerable the nuclear weapons the United States has are to simply becoming very dangerous because they're not well maintained, because the systems are outdated, because human error can lead to catastrophic results. And the public awareness of this is really not where it needs to be for such an intense and impactful public policy issue. So when the proposal for Command and Control, the documentary being produced by American Experience, came to us, we ran down the hall, down the stairs to Emma Belcher and the nuclear team and said, here's a documentary. It's being produced by a team that has had a lot of success in this format. They previously teamed up on the Food Inc. documentary based on Fast Food Nation, and in a lot of ways really changed the way that many people thought about our food supply. And so the journalism and media program and the Nuclear Challenge Project teamed up together and each provided funding for a production grant for Command and Control, which premiered at the Tribeca Film Festival in April, and we'll have a premiere on American Experience on PBS later this year. And so the best way to tell you more about that is just to show the trailer for the film. So please play the second clip.
I was fairly new to working out on the missile sites. Right above us was a 9-megaton thermonuclear warhead. It was a monster waiting to go off. You think about working on a weapon of mass destruction, you're counting on everything to work perfect all the time. And things just don't work perfect all the time.
From the very beginning of the atomic age, there has been a sense of this immense power just being on the verge of slipping out of our control.
The warhead on top of the Titan II was 3 times as powerful as all the bombs used in the Second World War, including both the atomic bombs.
Sheriff, has the Air Force told you very much?
Haven't told me a darn thing.
Does that make you mad?
Yes, it does.
We got a potential nuclear explosion 46 miles from here. If that warhead explodes, little one's gone. Do we let the world know? What do you do?
This is your warning. Help me. For me.
The governor of the state of Arkansas is Bill Clinton.
As regards a nuclear explosion, all we can do is to trust the experts.
Is there a warhead on the site?
I cannot confirm or deny.
I don't wanna know.
The Air Force is telling people it's not happening.
I just wanna run and hide.
Before September 18th,
This is just an nightmare.
the only warheads that we thought would go off in the United States would be Soviet. We never considered our own warheads could detonate on our own continent.
Nuclear weapons are machines, and every machine ever invented eventually goes wrong.
So it's a very powerful film, and it really makes a lot of these, for some people, abstract concepts very real, because it retraces a very almost extremely tragic accident that happened in the early 80s in Arkansas. So I just urge you to check it out. And I just want to say also that the Nuclear Challenge Project, having co-funded the production with us through this open call mechanism that we had for independent documentaries, they have now come back in and supported WGBH to do additional outreach activities with the film to get it to specific audiences of policymakers as well as to the general public. So around the same time that Command and Control was being produced, Emma Belcher was approached by a young installation artist named Smriti Kashari, and she was inspired by Command and Control, the book, by having some knowledge of the film, and had an idea for an immersive installation that would make this issue of nuclear weapons visceral for a new generation that didn't have a familiarity with them. And so Emma, took this proposal in-house and talked with our team, talked with our arts and culture team, and tried to determine, whether this was something that they wanted to fund. This was, in many ways, a risky grant to make because it is such a kind of outside-of-the-box project that really takes this multimedia installation format and really blows it up and does it on a huge scale with a live band. And then again, the best way to tell you more about this is to just show a quick 90-second interview that Alternet did with Kashari when she talks about the inspiration and gives you a little hint of what the installation is. So please play the third clip.
A few years ago, I had been thinking about this idea of challenging the one-way, one-directional relationship of film. And it was around this time that I was reading Eric's book, Command and Control, which was an inspiration. And I approached Eric about it, and he had been, thinking similarly of also having a multimedia event around the issue. The Bomb is a film, music, and art installation on nuclear weapons, and the Bomb is the closing night event of the Tribeca Film Festival. It provides a visceral, emotional journey into the heart of the weapon. And it's a 360-degree stage, so the film's happening all around you in 30-foot screens. All of it is coming into Gotham Hall. We're going to be building giant screens, have projectors all over the platform for the band. For a generation that didn't grow up during the arms race or the Cold War or even the Cuban Missile Crisis, the gravity of these weapons, it doesn't have that same effect. When you ask people, under the age of 45, how many nuclear weapons do you think we have? And we've gotten everything from 0 to 20 or 300. And, we live in a time where there are 15,000 nuclear weapons in the world. There are 9 countries that possess them. And the typical weapon in the American arsenal is 20 times more powerful than the weapon dropped on Hiroshima. And be aware of that reality that we live in now.
So the bomb installation premiered at Tribeca. It was quite an amazing experience to be in this room surrounded by these 30-foot screens showing footage from everything from propaganda videos to very recent press conferences with presidents, and just knitting together this history and the present state of our nuclear weapons program and all of the impacts that it could have. It was quite powerful. And I understand that experience was filmed in VR, so the team is planning on making that available to more audiences through that technology. And I'm gonna wind it up here with one more example from our colleagues at the Nuclear Challenge Project side of the house, which is, now you've gotten to see some of these pieces of media and think a little more about the huge gap that exists in the public's knowledge of what our nuclear arsenal is, what are the dangers associated with it. But the goal is to really make that awareness much more broadly felt, and in the style of a big problem-solving, big bet, get people from more disciplines interested in this, knowledgeable about this, and brainstorming together to think of some solutions for this problem. And so I wanted to just quickly mention the work of N Square, which is supported by a collaborative of funders. There aren't a lot of funders right now that work in the nuclear security space, but they've come together to support, and if you could just, there's the website. It's really taking the idea that everyone has something to contribute to a huge problem that will affect all of us and continues to affect us and probably many generations to come. And so if you visit the website, they have challenges where they're asking for media production pieces. They have ideas for people who work in various fields to get involved in this issue. And there's just a great deal more information of kind of pushing outside of some of these these fields and some of these silos that some of us might work in. And so, thank you very much for your time and for the opportunity. And I'll hand it over to Vince. Thank you.
And actually, I think you can all see why we were very happy to have Lauren after all. And it was just slightly in reverse order of what we were thinking about. But of course, you were all very interested to know what Kathy and Lauren are doing in the journalism and media program. So it's extremely important to have that too. But I do want to just acknowledge that our starting point for this was through the N Square Collaborative, which we encountered at PopTech with Letha is here from PopTech. And it's a very, it's a revelation once again for a generation that has just sort of fallen asleep with this enormous global problem that we don't pay attention to. So thank you for supporting all of that incredible media that's happening around that very important issue.